I'm Pedro. I'll be reading a piece entitled Holly and Paul. We were right out of breakfast at Tiffany's. She was my Holly Golightly and I her Fred. We had been made to save each other. There in her car we'd sit and talk each other down from the ledge. She lived with her fears of never falling in love, while I lived with my fear of never being loved. We were opposites who shared so much in common, it was eerie. Holly smiled her Holly smile, the one that said she didn't really know what one should feel like. Her hands gripped the steering wheel with her white knuckles, even though the car was parked in front of my house. I want to see the world, Fred. This is your chance. I say take it. But you forget that. I'm not your problem. Somewhere in the distance, Frank Sinatra crooned, Moon River. Back in Holly's car, we sat in solemn silence. She was leaving. She had received a letter in the post, and there was a visible change in the air around her face. Gravity seemed to be in flux around her lips. One moment, her lips were reaching high into the sky, and the next, they hung low as if seeking shelter deep in the ground. We can still talk every night. I know. I promise I'll always be here for you. I know that too. Then why aren't you happy for me? I had no answer to that. The thought threatened to choke me in my seat as I searched for an answer. It wasn't that I didn't want to be happy for her. She was going to see the world. This was her first step. But there was something else. Something that wasn't letting me be happy for my friend. For Holly. But I am happy for you. I'm always happy for you. You know you did this to yourself. You could have come with me, Fred. With what money, Holly? You had everything paid for you since before you were able to speak. I need to beg at the feet of Uncle Sam for every dime that finds its way into my bank account. And the ones that don't come from that old wasp come from my parents who have precious little to spare. I could tell she didn't believe me. Her face was falling noticeably, and the car was starting to grow warmer. I was starting to feel bad that I couldn't at least fake it for her, that I couldn't muster up any of the acting skills I purported to have. The fluorescent clock on her dash glared at me, taunting me for my inability to satisfy her. Fred? Yes? What if you transfer in a few years? In a few years I won't be any richer. Scholarships? Maybe. I was wrong. I could lie to her. There was no way I was going to find scholarships just so I could move up north with her. Holly. How much I was going to miss her when she was gone. And she would be gone. This city, these people, her friends, these were the things that were holding her back, keeping her from getting lost in herself. These were the things that kept her sane and sober. She didn't want to be either of those things anymore. Holly wanted to fly. She wanted to soar in a high like no other. To her, there was no such thing as too much. A night at the bar turned into a weekend at the bar. A hit from her bong turned into 50. There was no end to her wild exploration, not without someone else to bring her back down from her high. And who would that be up north? Her other friends? Her closer friends? They cheered her on. I wouldn't be there. I wouldn't be able to take the bong out of her cupped hands or the needle out of her nearly collapsed vein. She could very well die up there. Your eyes are wet. Your car is dusty. I haven't cleaned it in a while, she laughs. It shows, I chuckle. I'm gonna be okay. I don't believe her.